Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Class and Jill Skeen.
Well, good morning, and welcome to Top Story, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
Kind of shocked me a little bit. I was a little bit louder than I expected to be.
Oh, no, you're always plenty loud. Don't sell yourself short, buddy. You are always plenty loud.
You know, this is one thing I'm going to
Welcome
miss.
to my world.
Yeah.
Right.
Our little sparring in the morning. That's what I'm going to miss.
Sparring.
Yes, indeed.
You're going to miss a lot.
Well.
Wow. Oh, so do you have any regrets? No.
No.
Okay, fine.
Be able to sleep in.
What, till 6?
Yeah, pretty much.
I know. I just want to sleep until 7 once. 7.
Yeah, I can't sleep in much past 7 or 8. I get all groggy and headachy.
Oh, I would like to try. But Gracie wakes us up. She woke us up Saturday at 5:30 and then Sunday at 6.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, just
one
weekend day. Just please.
Well, hey, we have Paula Sinclair. She'll be coming in at 8:20 to tell us about some Christmas concerts coming up.
Very cute with the symphony.
And at 8:30, we have Trip Craig setting in for Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans.
Okay.
So should be a lot of fun.
Always
with
interesting.
Old Trip. Always fun to talk to Trip.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about. There was so much stuff that we wanted to talk about yesterday, and we just couldn't get to it because there was just other stuff to talk about. You know, that's one thing about on the talk show. Sometimes it's feast or famine. Sometimes there's nothing to talk about, and we have to just tell bad jokes. And
if anyone can recall the day after Thanksgiving show, that's pretty much what the show was.
Now,
for anyone who was up.
I thought that was a pretty darn good show.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember saying at one point, and it's only 8:39. You never have to say that if it's a really pretty good darn show. A minute felt like an hour.
Yeah, there have
For
been
anyone
times like
who
that.
was awake and listening or not in a store that listened, one of our classics.
Yeah. Okay.
We were pulling people in from everywhere. Come on.
We have something serious to talk about this morning up until at least 8:20.
Okay.
From time to time. Oh, dang, and I didn't. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
Can I get it? I can't get it now. Can
I have no idea
From
what you're
time,
talking about.
I don't think I can get that on here. From time to time, we hear these loud booms around here. And there was another post on Facebook last night about loud booms that people were hearing as far away as Gannett.
Well, we heard rumblings. It shakes our house.
Yeah. See, I hear those too.
Well, we feel here, and we almost feel like there's a big truck, but there's no big trucks driving by. So I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I know. I've heard those too. I've been out in the yard and I've heard those, or sometimes even in the house. And last night around 8 o'clock, there was another post that those rumblings were hitting again. And then consequently, I ran across a story this morning from mailonline.com that talked about that. And I'm wondering if they aren't onto something here. There was growing evidence today that some kind of hypersonic jet may have been the cause of the mysterious bangs heard over both the UK and the US on Saturday. And they even had a recording of this sound that, in fact, you know what?
Can you do it, Kelly?
I don't know if I can do this or not.
Bear with us while we're on live radio.
Yeah. Bear with me. And I took that recording and I saved it.
Uh-huh.
And, okay, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
This is highly unusual, I realize.
Uh-huh.
I might be able to get that sound.
How are you going to get the sound?
Bear with me.
I do every day.
I recorded it. Now, what did I save that?
This is what we have to deal with, people.
I hate this. Okay, wait a minute.
What happens? You got it? How are you doing this when we're...
Here we go.
Okay.
Here
Ready?
we go. This might work. It might not. See, wait a minute. Here we go. I'm getting a little echo in there, which I didn't want to get, and that's because of the video that I am recording in the video program. I'm doing it on the same computer. But at any rate, if you heard that, That was a recording of a test of a new engine that they are experimenting with. It's it's written in here somewhere, something about the Pulse, some sort of engine.
Pulse
But anyway,
Detonation Engine, PDE.
Yes, thank you.
This is what they're trying, an experimental jet engine.
It makes some kind of a pulsing sound as the one that you just heard.
I don't know what I just
heard. It says when we
heard.
run a test engine, it's a real industrial noise that you can hear it for miles. We have people coming to us asking to make less noise or keep it in the daytime. A PDE works by sending liquid methane or liquid hydrogen through the engine, at which point fuel mist is then ignited. This detonation is made inside a specially designed chamber and occurs when the aircraft is traveling beyond the speed of sound. At these speeds, a thrust wall is created. This is when the craft is traveling so fast, air is pushed near the aircraft's nose and creates a wall. When the detonation occurs, the aircraft's thrust wall is pushed forward, and this is repeated numerous times to propel the aircraft. A PDE can detonate between 60 and 100 times a second. As a result, the contrails created by such engines appear to look like rings on a rope or even a spine. While the MOD, the Ministry of Defense, said it had no reports of aircraft in British airspace capable of making a supersonic or hypersonic boom or any alternative explanation, one expert claimed the noises could have come from thousands of miles away. So there you go. We might have solved this weird booming noise issue. I don't know if anybody heard those noises last night. Such a loud noise that it
shakes your house, because that's what it does. It shakes our house.
I know. I've been sitting in the house before, and all of a sudden the windows just start rattling.
Yeah, the house shakes.
And you think, oh, there must be a storm or something, and you look outside, and there's not a cloud in the sky.
It sounds like a truck, because that's the accompanying sound with it.
Yeah, so I don't know. 736-0300 is the number to call if you have any information to...
Did anyone else hear this?
This kind of stuff just fascinates me.
I know it does, doesn't it, Kelly?
And so when that happened again last night, I saw the posting on Facebook, and then this morning I saw this article, so I posted that article to that posting. And I don't know, it's very possible. Now, a lot of people, including myself, have attributed this to the Sailor Creek bombing range out west of Castle Ford. I don't know, and I've heard people who live out by there say, yeah, that's what it is. And it might be. It might be. But these things happen at just different times of the day or night, which would be possible on a bombing range.
They do.
And
the afternoon sometimes
and they're very noisy. They're very noisy. Way to go. Just slap the microphone with that cup of coffee. That's no problem.
Actually,
they're only $400 mics.
It was a PDE.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my contribution this morning.
All right. Well, I don't know if anyone else felt it, heard it, seen it. I don't know.
I don't either. 736-0300
Who even thinks this is plausible?
Is the number to call. I wouldn't
How long
be
have they been working on them? Are they working on them day and night and day, and night?
Probably. There's quite an article in here about it, and I kind of skimmed through the article, but this is from the Mail Online. The technology, this is what I was thinking here, and now it confirms it in the article. This technology builds upon pulse jet principles, which first emerged in the early 1900s and were used in the German V-1 flying bombs. So this, I don't know, interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff.
Well, this sort of goes along too. Also, that they're going to try to, did they already shoot it or shooting it? The one to Pluto.
Oh, that's another thing I wanted to talk about this morning.
Because you get all excited about this stuff.
NASA's New Horizons spacecraft is set to awaken on December 6th.
Yeah.
So this is December 2nd? So in 4 more days from the last of its 18 hibernation periods, and prepare for its initial approach towards Pluto.
Yes.
Now we heard about the one that was on the Rosetta that went after the comet, which was launched 10 years ago. And this one, I guess it's proof that NASA is not doing nothing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff NASA is involved in that we don't really hear about until, like this. It's been, what did it say, many years. It'll take place on January 15th when it actually approaches to within 6,200 miles of Pluto.
Right.
The closest any man-made object has come to the dwarf planet. The mission marks the first visit outside of Neptune's orbit to the Kuiper Belt, which consists of Pluto and thousands of objects that have not been identified. New Horizons is currently 2.9 billion miles from Earth and was launched in January of 2006 atop an Atlas V rocket.
That's amazing.
Pluto at the time was still considered a planet, with scientists later that year voting to demote its status to that of a dwarf planet. 2.9 billion miles away, so this little spacecraft has been sleeping for 8 years, and now it's going to awaken and take pictures of Pluto. It's just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, with all the bad stuff that we have going on in the world today, if man could just pool his knowledge and pool his efforts toward good like this, it would be unimaginable what we could accomplish as an Earth.
Well, it is
You know?
unimaginable what we're accomplishing. We are man.
It
We're
is.
pulling our brains together
But
on
imagine-
Earth to send it elsewhere.
But imagine if we didn't have these freakazoids running around with towels on their heads, cutting people's heads off and things like that. If we didn't have them to contend with and we could put our minds together, there's no telling what we could do.
Humankind.
The spacecraft has, over the last 9 years, frequently gone into hibernation for various amounts of time, ranging from 36 to 202 days, all of which adds up to 5 years in total, to help conserve power and allow scientists time to make plans for its exploration in space.
So basically, it's traveling 3 years out of the 8, then 5 in hibernation.
Yeah, it transmits a beep once a week to alert scientists that it is still functioning properly.
To wake them up
Yeah, I
at
guess
their
so.
desks. Wait. Oh, yeah, there's the beep.
We got the beep, everybody. Go back to sleep.
No. Like, someone has to be monitoring this for 8 years.
Once awakened on December 6th, New Horizons will transmit radio signals that will reach the mission's control center. So, 7360300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kelly and Jill. Hey, Kelly, this goes along with your post on Facebook last night. Isn't it calling it a dwarf planet? Isn't that a little politically incorrect?
Oh, you're right.
It is.
You're right. Yeah, I'm going to have to change. I'm going to have to apologize, aren't I?
Little person planet.
I'm gonna. Yeah, it's a dwarf. Can't call it. You can't. You
Didn't they-
have to call it a little people planet.
I know.
guess.
So I said, but didn't they recategorize it? Didn't they make it a full-fledged planet again? It went down, then they came back again. Wasn't there some? It just recently resurrected
seems
itself
like I
to
remember.
full planet status.
We should have asked Chris Anderson that. He would know that answer.
Of course he would.
So when he's in next time, we'll ask him. Hasn't Pluto been promoted back?
You won't be here next
back
time
to a
he's
full
in.
sergeant.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Wasn't
anyway.
he promoted?
I don't know. Just interesting stuff going on, folks. You know, we talk about bad stuff every day, and sometimes it's just fun to talk about some of our
It's
accomplishments.
refreshing.
Yes. We're going to talk about Christmas concerts next here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. Just wanted to remind you about the folks at Canyon Pawn. They're open. They are the newest pawn shop in town. They are the cleanest pawn shop in town. And they got just about everything, including guns and woodworking supplies and fishing poles and tools and watches and rings and gold and you name it. It's a pawn shop, for crying out loud. That's what they have at pawn shops. Everything. And if they don't have everything today, they'll have it tomorrow. So if you need some extra cash for Christmas, pawn something. Use that cash. Get your special someone a special something. At Canyon Pawn, they're at on South Shoshone Street. Actually, on Shoshone Street. I guess there is no South Shoshone Street. There's a Shoshone
I have
Street.
no
South.
idea
Maybe, I
what
don't know.
the-
Maybe it is Shoshone
Anyway,
Street.
it's
South.
just
I don't
Shoshone.
know.
If you can't find it, something's wrong with you. It's
Right
right on
across-
Shoshone Street.
Right across from
My
Will's
gosh.
Toyota,
It's a
Canyon
huge
Pond.
sign.
Dave Hansen and the crew, they'd love to see you stop by. We have Paula Sinclair and Alice Anderson with us this morning. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning.
So what's this rumor about some sort of Christmas concerts coming up?
Well, there will be 2 of them. Thursday night is the first one, and the second performance is Friday night.
Not one, but 2.
Not one, but 2.
But wait,
When
there's
you thought
more.
it couldn't
But-
get better.
oh my goodness! What's more is going to be what's on stage. I'm here with the symphony. This is a symphony concert.
Okay.
But with me this morning is Alice Anderson, and she is from the Alice.
Magic Valley Chorale.
Oh,
Wow, there you
so
go.
are you going to sing, Alice?
Yes, oh, of course.
I mean, not now, though.
Not
right?
now.
That's what she told me. I thought she was
No,
coming.
no silent night this morning.
So how many songs do you sing? Or are you singing solos?
No, this is totally the chorale.
Okay.
And we're doing 4 different groupings of music
Okay.
from Robert Shaw arranged of the very well-known Christmas carols.
Robert Shaw. Is he that guy that was in Jaws? No. I don't think so.
No.
A different Robert Shaw.
Yes.
No, but he was very famous. He had the Robert Shaw Chorale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Back, when you and I were younger, everybody had heard of the Robert
That
Shaw
was a
Chorale.
long time ago.
Well, it was. He became very popular after World War II. And what we're going to perform are 4 medleys, rather lengthy medleys of traditional carols with very just stunning arrangements that he is left with us.
So how long will this last if people are concerned about time?
Well, we're
like Kelly, when you
I
get
would
something
say
like
not
this.
more than an hour and a half.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It will not be a long concert.
No.
We're going to perform without an intermission.
Okay.
So
And it starts at...
starts at
7:30. 7:30.
So by 9 o'clock, you'll be out. You
Should
can
be.
go do other things if you
Should be.
want.
So is it the same concert both nights?
Yes,
it's
it
just a
is.
repeat
is.
performance.
Yes,
Have
it
you guys
is.
done this before?
We've done a very similar concert 3 years ago, and the reason that we're performing it twice this time is because last time we had to turn away people at the door.
You just cannot do that, can you, Paula?
Yes, this was sad that we had to deny some people the gorgeous
pleasure.
music.
Well,
these
now,
are
so
fun.
where's it going to be and how much, et cetera?
It's at the College of Southern Idaho
Okay.
at the Fine Arts Auditorium, and the prices are adults are 10, seniors 8, and students $6.
Wow.
Cheap at twice the price.
I know it,
and
huh?
you can get tickets, of course, at the door, or the Ooh La La shop downtown, Kurt's Pharmacy, Dunkley's, and CSI box office there, which is there at the
Right,
auditorium, and at the door.
All right.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
That's-
So people of all ages can come.
Oh yes.
It's for everyone.
People of all ages will love it. They will relate to it. Nothing dull and boring and classical about
No,
this.
huh?
Very, very traditional and very comforting. And I was thinking on the way over this morning, you know how we get just kind of hectic this time of year?
Do we really?
No, I have no idea.
Just a little.
Kelly's winding down. He has no idea what's happening with the rest of the
In
world.
case anybody is getting frantic, we'd like them to come to our concert and just sit and maybe close their eyes and take a break from hectic and frantic.
Leave the
Well, what
cell
is-
phone at home. Huh?
Oh,
Please do.
What is more therapeutic than lovely music? Really?
Well,
there isn't.
and what's more traditional at Christmas time than music? I can't imagine Christmas without music anyway.
Yeah.
But this is really, truly a wonderful celebration of two, I think, very, very great groups, the symphony and
Oh,
the
yeah.
chorale.
That's the Magic Valley Symphony and Magic Valley Chorale.
And some handbell ensembles
Yes.
are going to join us as well.
Some
Oh, that's
What?
always fun. The
Handbell
handbells.
ensembles,
Oh, those
directed
are
by
fun.
Barbara Mix. Yes, they
Oh, yeah.
That
always
is fun.
They add to the festive component.
Yeah,
And
that would
they'll-
be
They'll be
fun.
on stage with us too.
Paula, now remind people, what do you play?
Oh, I play horn.
Yeah.
Some people call it French horn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. And
That's
Alice,
the one
how-
you have to stick your fist up inside the horn, right?
Yes, to make it sound better.
I always wondered about that.
it's a genius who
The
invented
guy,
that.
the
So
guy who
stick your
invented it,
hand
yeah.
in
Hey,
that.
if you put your hand in and cover up the sound, it sounds better.
Kelly, believe it or not, we tune with that hand. We actually can change the pitch.
Is that
Oh,
amazing?
really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes, adept players will use that hand to tune their notes.
All right.
And Alice sings.
Alice, how long you been singing? Real quick.
How long have I been singing? Since I was
In the-
about
in the
2, but
chorale?
I won't tell you how long. Chorale off and on since its beginnings, which was in either 73 or 74.
Oh, my
Well, this will be a real treat for everyone.
be.
So this is Thursday, December 4th, Friday, December 5th. $10 adults, seniors $8, students $6. Go out and
Right.
celebrate the holidays with this.
Paula
Lovely music.
Sinclair and Alice Anderson, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. It
Very
sounds
welcome.
wonderful,
You.
ladies.
Thanks
This is
for
Top
having
Story.
us.
Trip Craig is next. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. We got Trip Craig with the Twin Falls Republicans. He'll be coming our way here soon. Can you hear okay through your headphones?
Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right, very good. All right, all right.
If not, let me know and I'll adjust them for
So
you.
before we get back to Trip, here's something I wanted to mention, the Lowen Honey Loader. And we mention this quite often on here. because manure can become a problem on some of the larger feedlots or dairy operations in the area. But that's not a problem because Stanley and Company has the Low and Honey Loader, which can load all types of manure, liquid, frozen, dry. It doesn't really care. And it can handle it all. It eats it like it eats that stuff like an anteater goes after an ant pile. You know what I'm saying? So get a hold of Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company, and he can fix this up so you can see one of these Low and Honey Loaders in operation, and then you might decide that, yep, I got to get one of those for mine. So his number is 280-1167. That is his personal cell phone. You don't have to go through an operator. You don't have to go through a secretary. You don't have to go through a third party. You can talk directly to Pat. He can fix you up. You're going right to the guy there. 280-1167 is the number to call. And now I got to do this properly, right?
The Democrats' secular progressive move, political correctness is killing us too. They want to take the money from the hard-working man and give it to the lazy folks that don't give a damn. Democrats and liberals, shame on you. Don't punish us all, just to please a few. You're holding people back while we're picking up the slack, and that's why we can't vote for a Democrat. Oh no!
All right, and we're off. That's the official opening for Trip Craig with the Twin Falls Republicans, setting in this morning for vacationing Steve Millington. Good morning,
Thanks for
Trip.
coming in, Trip.
You betcha. Good morning, folks. How are you?
We're doing fine. What are there any? We got an Idaho legislature that's going to be starting up here in about 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little over a month. What do you expect the hot button issues to be? Because we don't have an election coming up. A lot of times they'll avoid stuff because, well, we got an election coming up. But they won't have that this time.
Then they ram it through after the election.
So what are we looking at this time?
Well, I don't think there's really going to be a lot of bills passed, because it's kind of like what you have just mentioned, is there's no big elections looming on the horizon, and sometimes you get that lull where instead of passing 300 pieces of legislation in a year, you're only passing 100 to a couple of hundred. And if you think about it, think of all the bills that get put through every single year.
Yeah, and we never hear about it.
Yeah, and it has a lot of it's mundane. It has to do with accepting building codes and things like that from the National Building Code Association, and so you get a lot of that. I think one of the things you might see is some folks are asking for a tax cut, and I know that other folks are just adamantly against that.
Well, who's asking for it, and what kind of tax cut, and how much would it be?
Well, it's IACI, and they're asking for the Idaho Association of Commerce and Industry, and they're thinking about having a bill passed for corporations to lower the rate, I believe, in some instances. Yeah.
Because we're higher than some of the surrounding states, are we not?
Yes, we are, actually, than all of them, I believe.
Can the state of Idaho even afford another tax cut with what's going on with education, with our roads, with transportation? I mean, seriously.
Well, I think there's a lot of other things you can cut in government. But and like with education, I know that we've talked about this before, but school consolidation could probably save you a lot of money in some of these spots. But now I know it's not feasible, or you got to ship a kid 50 miles on a bus, but I know.
But what the heck?
Well, but
50 miles on a bus to get to school every day and back is a lot.
Well, I understand that, but when you're graduating less than 9 kids out of a school, and you can't keep it running, and you're turning the lights off, and you don't have any sports teams, and you've dropped your band, maybe perhaps it's something to think about. Einstein used to say doing the same thing over and over is, yeah. And maybe it's time to try to do something different. I know that things were going to change, I know, in the future because of the technology that we have nowadays, and that perhaps these smaller little schools you can keep and pay the insurance on them, the superintendent, and all of these things, because it's not necessarily just the schools, but school districts. Consolidate. Why do we have to have so many school districts, for instance, in Twin Falls County?
Right,
but are they discussing that up in Boise? I mean, are these some of the plans, Gar? These are just your ideas?
No, that's just the things that get bantied around, and I don't think it's going to have absolutely any political willpower from anybody to push that through in their communities to say,
That's
hey,
kind of a wish list type thing. Then.
yeah, hey, I believe that we can save money and have a better education system, but we're going to have to close down, Murtaugh or whatever, Kamiah, whatever school you want to pick throughout the state. But there's just so many districts, and, there could be one district per county.
Well, doesn't Cassia County have that?
They do have something along that line, yes. But
well, we'll be right back. We have Trip Craig with us of the Twin Falls Republicans here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story, and we have Trip Craig sitting in this morning for Steve Millington for the Twin Falls Republicans, talking about some of the bills that we could see coming up this year in the Idaho legislature. Okay, well, let's try. We got a phone call, so let's try that. Top Story, you're on the air with Trip Craig. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, lovely Jill.
Good morning.
Mr. Craig, I wanted, what did you do really when you were when you won the elections and you were out there? What kind of constructive bills did you pass to make society better when you were up there in Boise? You want to care to explain to us what did you do that helped the state and its education system or its infrastructure? Care to explain to us that, please?
Trev, explain that to us.
How long were you up there? In case people don't know when you were there and how long.
Yeah, no, I served for 20 years. No,
Did you? 20 years?
Yeah. No, I've never been in the legislature, and I've never been elected to the legislature. I've never been to a representative or a senator or anything like that.
Wait, what did you do for 20 years?
He was just talking, Jill.
I was just joking.
It was.
It wasn't enough sarcasm or facetiousness for me. I'm like, what? So.
Well, no, just to explain, Trip Craig spent several years on the Twin Falls City Council.
Yes,
So,
and I worked at the legislature, but all I did was what I was told to do.
Yeah.
I wasn't making policy or anything like that. It was, hey, we need this or research that, and I would go and do it. And so that's the only.
So you weren't an elected official.
Not a state official.
Not a state official.
Okay.
No, never, ever.
All right.
And probably, do you have aspirations for that?
The landscape today, not particularly.
Do you think there was any? Okay, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, what about? There's been a lot of talk in our transportation department. We don't have enough money for roads and bridges, and everything's falling apart. I know there's been an effort afloat here in the last year or two to maybe raise some gasoline taxes or some road taxes of some sort in order to build back up our funds for that. Do you think that's going to happen this year?
Usually, when they try to get some of these bills passed, it doesn't come out the first year.
Right.
It's a process of working it through and forming coalitions, and so it could take 2 or 3 years. I know they tried last year and it failed. Senator Brackett and Representative Kaufman both had tried, doing a little something, tweaking it a little bit if they could. And I know some of the complaints that came back from that was, okay, we want to raise it by a penny or two, the tax on gasoline. And some folks come back and say, well, we're already one of the highest taxed states in the whole region on gas taxes. And kind of what their explanations have been are, they're getting smaller and smaller cars or electric cars and these types of things, and they're not using as much fuel. And so you're not getting as much money from the gas that you used to sell because it's not being purchased.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been a problem.
Cars being more economical than they're not.
Well, I mean, but still, how many gallons do you think? I mean, my gosh, do we sell in a year? You think with an extra penny on it, it still would help.
Yes, but there's conservatives in the state that say, we're already taxing our gasoline at the highest in the region. And they're going to say, what about the farmers that are buying gasoline for, their tractors, and they buy it in bulk, tons of it, and a penny starts adding up, I guess, And
then you think if you don't have roads to move the products that the farmers are making, then what? I mean, seriously, they have to deal with the situation.
Yes, I understand
it
this,
doesn't
but
make
how
sense.
much? Once again, they're trying. and they're trying, in small steps because it's not going to be a huge step because it'll never pass. And so they're trying to say, hey, maybe we can do a penny to maybe 2 cents. They're talking about maybe raising registration fees, perhaps, trying to get more money for that. There was talk about taxing rental cars, in the state, so they could get money from that. And it's not getting any better. I understand that.
I know.
And I know in Twin Falls, the engineering department did some innovative things to stretch the dollar farther, like when they chip seal and things like that. And they've got, like in our city, there's a plan that this area gets it, the next year this one does, and it goes in like a 7-year cycle. And by the time you're done at the end, you're going back to the first one that that you try to maintain. And I know that that's easy to talk about here in Twin Falls, but what do you do on the highways and such? And state highways, and the federal highways are taken care of course, but a lot of these state highways are just in disrepair.
Oh, and the bridges? I know.
Well, they did a study on our bridges in this state, and I think 50% of them or so are like darn near going to be called you can't drive across them anymore.
Condemned.
I saw the one up by Horseshoe Bend, I believe it was, going up to McCall, and those sides are just gone. The concrete is falling apart, and it's just like, kind of scary. You're driving by, okay, don't look down, because there's no guardrails or anything up there anymore.
Well, people complain because they don't want their taxes raised. Are there some areas in state government you think that we could save money? Maybe some waste or something going on? I know, seems to me like Idaho is run fairly lean, but then again, there's always waste that you can, or programs that aren't paying or something.
Right. I know the ITD, couple of years ago, I believe, had done a study, and like in-house, like what can we do? Can we, can we close this place, or do we need all these employees? Like if they retire, we just don't hire back. And I thought, if I remember right, they said they had a lot of upper echelon staff rather than guys, out on the roads.
A little bit top
heavy.
They
were getting a little top heavy, so I know
paid
that,
a little much.
What was it? I didn't hear.
Paid a little more, the top heavy. Yeah, I mean, they're not doing the work. They're just up there. And so what, are they going to lay those guys off?
Okay, there's one thing to consider when you start about cutting jobs, in that when you cut jobs, then you have people who don't have that spending power anymore. So you're kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah, employment insurance, and there you go. They don't find a job, then they go on food stamps.
And I know that, you've got to have that spending power for your economy. I saw the reports on Black Friday and Cyber Monday or whatever, or Thursday, whatever all that stuff.
Gray Thursday. Today's Giving Tuesday.
Oh, jeez. It just never stops.
Comes up with this stuff.
Yeah.
So what were you saying, yeah?
But they said, well, geez, retail sales were down 15% or more in some areas. And they were talking about, well, why is that when gas is cheaper now and other things, power is cheaper now? And they said because of the loss of your dollar. You can't stretch it. The middle class anymore.
The middle class is not even middle anymore.
And the cost of all this, has gone up 25%, and yet you're getting wages that are stayed stagnant, but with inflation and everything else have actually fallen behind.
Right.
Even the time, before, like in the 80s or early 90s.
Like 30 years. It's stayed the same.
People are tired of dying while going shopping too. So that could be.
Well, when they say the sales were down on Black Friday, were they taking into account Gray Thursday? Because we didn't have really Gray Thursday that we did last time.
I think it was all sales for the weekend combined. Is what they had said.
Oh.
So that just makes you think, okay, here's a guy, he's earning his paycheck with the state, but yet we're going to cut him, and now what does he do?
Right.
But I mean, but we haven't looked at anything to actually, add revenue. We haven't looked at even internet sales tax. We haven't looked at things that people normally,
one of the things, internet sales tax, that's a whole nother subject, but that's one of the things I believe is gaining motion, and it's had a couple of bills printed So,
Lately?
I think
it was like 4 or
Lance
5 years
Clow
ago.
has been working on it. Our representative from Twin, he's been working on it, I know, for a couple of years, trying to, get it all hammered out, and because then you're gonna have to take it through the tax committee and all these other folks, and it's like, and they say, well, it's going to raise so much money, but quite frankly, those folks should be paying their money already, because it tells you right on your tax forms.
Yeah, but come on, let's get realistic.
But
How many
I know,
people are doing
but that's
that?
something that they said, you could get millions and millions of dollars through that, and if
I know,
that's
I think,
if it's a viable option, and they can get everybody all around to agree with it, then okay.
I know, it's a lot of money.
But I just don't think it can keep taking money out of folks' pockets. Because one thing, it's not stretching as far. Your dollar just isn't what it used to be in the economy that we're in now. And
what about would increasing logging in the state and letting the state
that's one
earn
of the
some
things that
income
I
on
know that they're talking about in the legislature was. And there's the interim committee that's been meeting over the summer that Steve Hartgen, Representative Hartgen, and some of those folks are part of. And I believe Lawrence Denny was on that committee too, who's now Secretary of State, so he may not be on that committee anymore. But they were talking about, can we just try out management? The federal people just pick something out. We don't have to own it, but let us manage it. Can we, find some logging that's a little bit better and get some of these places opened up again? And I saw they lost a couple hundred jobs up north because the lumber facility the caved in, 200 jobs. And they said, well, maybe we'll open it up, maybe not. And the reason they said they probably won't is there's just a dwindling of market share up there because they're not letting you log anything. Well, if you can't log, there's no sense of having a mill.
Right.
And they were talking about
trees are a renewable resource, and we need to take advantage of it.
Yes, and they talked then about, well, perhaps we can have better grazing practices, and if we thin out some of these trees, perhaps we won't have as bad of wildfires as what we've kind of seen in the last 5-10 years, because I think you're just getting a lot of timber and a lot of stuff built up on the ground that wants to burn, and you've got those darn beetles that are killing all of our trees, and
then the Sierra Club files a lawsuit and won't let them harvest that. It doesn't even make sense. It is. We got some loony people in this country, I'll tell you. We got a phone call too. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Morning, Kelly and Jill.
Good morning,
Kyle.
Hey, I think the problem that was just mentioned about the top heavy, that is a problem, because these jobs, everybody wants to get a government job. Who pays the government? We, the little guys below. And we're getting to the point where we have more people in government work than in regular work. How does that work? It doesn't. We need to figure out how to make more paying jobs, not raising minimum wage or anything like that, which will cut jobs.
Actually, doesn't.
We need more jobs.
That's why we're talking about, maybe opening up some timber and stuff like that in this state.
Yeah, and I know that's going to be one of the issues, and the land board, of course, I think is going to bring it up. And there's two divergent views on this. One is we can try to manage it with, let the government say, hey, the BLM or the Forest Service, try this spot out right here. Let's see how you do with it. And let us manage it. You'll still keep it. You'll own it. It'll still be federal lands, but give us a shot at managing it and see if we can do any better.
But how much does it cost us to manage it? Do you know? Because they said, I remember, that we couldn't even afford to manage the lands that we have.
Well, we're
financially, no way.
We're not.
I think, is the issue. We can't afford
even to
own
manage it. No, even to manage. I think Governor Otter said it. even to manage these lands, we couldn't afford.
Well,
I
know, like the state parks, and when they went through the recession, people were gone. They said, okay, honor system, leave your money at the door.
Yeah.
And please don't burn the campground down. and so I understand that. But they're also saying if you gave us the opportunity to perhaps graze differently and perhaps get a timber harvest, that we could make money off of this.
Yeah.
And we could help a community and we could help get some jobs. And quite frankly, some of those logging jobs they pay nice.
Sure they do.
And, I know there's a lot of jobs out there. I hear all this about you got to go to college and do this and that, but I've known some folks that are retired now that I went to school with because they got a job like with Albertsons or something right out of school.
I think most of the jobs that Marge said are ones that you don't need college for. You might need just some training.
If you could just pass that drug test.
Yeah, or measure. We don't even have people. Yeah,
we're out of time. Thanks, Tripp. We appreciate
thank you so much. Have a good holiday season.
You also.
This is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. Holy cow. Welcome back. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. I didn't know if I was going to get Jill back or not. She's out talking to Tripp Craig.
I know. It was interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, we're going back on air.
Yeah.
I've got to run back.
Oh, we've got a show.
You think you have all the time in the world on this break. You don't.
Yeah, I know. Well,
That's okay.
I'll tell you what. We have about 5 minutes, a little more than 5 minutes. And it really seems like eternity sometimes.
For a break,
I have to tell you this, that 5 seconds of dead air to a person who works in radio is an eternity.
I know.
Whereas a normal listener with 5 seconds of dead air, you probably don't pay too much attention
whatever.
to it. Yeah,
I think when you're listening, though, and 5 seconds of dead air sounds like a lot to a listener, too, because you're like,
I wonder what happened.
That's dead air.
Well, it can also work in your favor. We call those a turn up the radio moment.
Dramatic
pause. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People will say, wait a minute. It's like the radio can be going on in the background and you hear it and you know it's there, but you're not paying any attention to it. But when it stops, it's like, wait a minute.
Wait, what happened?
What happened to the radio? Then you run to the radio and you turn the volume up. See?
Then you think something's wrong with the radio.
That's what we call a turn up the radio moment.
There you go.
So it's like when you do something like this. We call that a turn up the radio moment.
We call it Jill drinking her coffee.
Did everybody get to hear that? Okay. Anyway, I
should have slurped on purpose.
Yes. We got an issue coming up. It's a free speech issue that we're going to be talking about this hour, and would like to get your input on that. But before we do that, we got just a couple of news items here I thought were kind of interesting this morning. With one Twin Falls small business owner letting her customers decide what prices to put on the items they want to buy.
How nice.
That is interesting.
Well, sometimes people actually pay more doing it that way because there was a restaurant in Salt Lake, although I don't think it's in business anymore, though, but you paid what you wanted.
Oops.
But you kind of felt badly, so you're like, I'll be a little bit more generous.
Oh, that hamburger was worth a lot more than $7. Here's a $20 bill. Well, she does have it. It's Leah. Is it Leah Babian who owns the Ooh La La shop? It's a consignment boutique, and she does have a suggested price on there. So if you have a suggested price, you're probably not going to pay higher than what's suggested, but you will try to pay lower. So actually, what she's doing, it's not on all the items in the store.
There's some higher
It's kind of an
priced
interesting
items.
experiment. I think this would be kind of a fun experiment.
She's doing it for the month through December 24th.
Yeah,
to help people. Why
sure,
not?
it's a gimmick,
Yeah.
and that's what you do when you're in business. You try to get people to come in the store, but it's kind of a starting point for bargaining. Actually, it's kind of like, well, I don't know about $24. Would you take 20? It's
that's happens
like
in a lot of
a pawn shop
in foreign countries. Like in Mexico or something, they have the price on there. You're like, I don't know. And then they start to negotiate. You're like, oh, okay, I get this. Because in the U.S., pretty much you don't go into a jewelry store and say, oh, $1,500, and then they don't go, hey, how's $1,000? It doesn't work that way here.
That's
right. The price is the price.
That is true.
But in another country, it kind of takes you back.
I'm kind of anxious. I'm kind of interested to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I hope she.
I know there are restaurants that do that, and I think some of them might even still be in business. I think John Bon Jovi, I think, has a restaurant where he does that. People just come in and of course, he can afford it. It's probably a tax write-off for him.
He does a lot for charity.
I know he
man
does. I know he does,
yeah.
and I think that's why he does it. But
Yeah.
If that's the only place around and you can afford it, then give a little extra. At least you got a place to eat. And then people who don't have a place to eat, then hey, it's charity, man.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
she feels like it's it's just nice for her customers, and
it'll be interesting to see how it turns out.
I say kudos to her. Think outside of the box. Why not? It's a giving
Here's
season.
and it's the giving season. I'm glad you brought that up because there was one story that kind of caught my eye this morning because I did see it, and then you sent me a link to it, so we both kind of saw it at the same time. A cook and a janitor who stood by residents of an assisted living facility when the state failed to recently opened up again about their life-saving roles in the ordeal. In October 2013, the California Department of Social Services closed the Valley Springs Manor Residential Care Facility for the elderly for a number of violations. The elderly residents of the Castro Valley facility were supposed to have been relocated, about 16 of them, some of whom were confined to their beds, were left behind to fend for themselves.
16 were left behind.
Yes, 16 of them.
Were left behind.
The department's Community Care Licensing Division served the suspension order on October 21st, but when it couldn't place all of the occupants by the end of the week, the department decided that the embroiled facility could still function for several more days, a judgment call it has now deemed an error.
Really?
While most of the staff cleared out, Maurice Rowland, a cook, and Miguel Alvarez, the janitor, refused to leave their posts. If we left, they wouldn't have nobody, Alvarez recently said. The facility had its license suspended for a laundry list of issues, including failing to conduct criminal background checks on employees, handling injuries improperly, and neglecting to hand out appropriate medications. The state first took legal action to revoke the facility's license in May of 2013, blah, blah, blah. After Rowland and Alvarez watched the more experienced staff vacate the property, the two held a quick powwow and agreed to the care for the residents until more help came through. So over the following week in May of last year, the janitor and the cook bathed and fed the residents and doled out medications despite their limited training. Though they weren't getting paid, Alvarez told NPR that they worked around the clock, only taking quick breaks to shower. A 65-year-old resident who had disappeared in the past walked off the premises during the turmoil. He was found the following week. Once another resident's condition started to deteriorate, the pair called 911, which eventually alerted authorities to the gravity of the situation. About 40 minutes after the call, the Alameda County Sheriff's Department is notified, and the overdue evacuation finally took shape. So here are these
Bless
two
their
guys.
Bless
If
their
they had
hearts.
just walked away like the rest of them, there probably would have been some dead people.
They would have been dead.
Yeah.
Because he said, if I would have left, Rollins said, I think that would have been on my conscience for a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? This is what the season, humanity, as people every day we should do. This is what we should do for our fellow human beings or animals,
day.
whatever, every day.
Yeah.
Not just during this time, but it just shows you. Those two people couldn't leave those people that were bedridden, a lot of them, just with nothing. And
So
it really
kudos to
touched
them,
me
man.
that, that they would do that. And we all should strive to be
There are still
like that
some good
every
people
day.
left in this world.
I think there's a lot of good people out there. And you know what? It's not just during the holiday season. It should be every day.
Okay, here's the deal. The Supreme Court is weighing the free speech rights of people who use violent or threatening language on Facebook and other social media. I know I see it every day. I know you see it every day. The justices heard arguments yesterday in this case of a man who was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison for posting graphically violent rap lyrics on Facebook about killing his estranged wife, shooting up a kindergarten class, and attacking an FBI agent. Anthony Alonis of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, says he was just venting his anger over a broken marriage and never meant to threaten anyone.
Yeah, those are just,
But his
just a
wife,
few thoughts I wrote down.
His wife,
just expressing myself.
But his wife didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
And neither did federal prosecutors. A jury convicted Alonis of violating a federal law that makes it a crime to threaten another person. A federal appeals court rejected his claim that his comments were protected by the First Amendment. Lawyers for Elonis argue that the government must prove he actually intended his comments to threaten others. The government says, however, it doesn't matter what Elonis intended. The true test of a threat is whether his words make a reasonable person feel threatened.
I mean, almost it's like, okay, your words don't mean anything until you kill her. Then we'll know what your intent was, because this is what one post said about his wife. And I'm telling you, if someone wrote this about me, I wouldn't think this was a love letter. He wrote, there's one way to love you, but 1,000 ways to kill you. I'm not going to rest until your body is a mess, soaked in blood and dying from all the little cuts.
Wow, he's a nice guy.
Would that not instill fear, especially with domestic violence that's happening, especially with women being dead?
Pitter patter.
Dead. I mean, seriously, this is like amazing how anyone could read that and not feel threatened. Something would be wrong with you.
Well, the case has drawn widespread attention from free speech advocates who say comments on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media can be hasty, impulsive, and easily misrepresented.
Oh, yeah, misinterpreted. How could that be misinterpreted? How could that be misinterpreted?
Yes. They point out that a message on Facebook intended for a small group could be taken out of context when viewed by a wider audience.
Really?
A statute that prescribes speech without regard to the speaker's intended meaning runs the risk of punishing protected First Amendment expression simply because it is crudely or zealously expressed, said a brief from the American Civil Liberties Union and other groups. So far, most lower courts have rejected that view, ruling that a true threat depends on how an objective person perceives the message. For more than 4 decades, the Supreme Court has said that true threats to harm another person are not protected speech under the First Amendment, but the court has been careful to distinguish threats from protected speech, such as political hyperbole or unpleasantly sharp attacks. Elonis argues that his online posts under the pseudonym Tone Doogie were simply a crude and spontaneous form of expression that should not be considered threatening if he didn't really mean it. His lawyers say the posts were heavily influenced by rap star Eminem, who has also fantasized in songs about killing his ex-wife.
Nice.
Elonis' wife testified that the comments made her fear for her life.
Which seems to me a normal reaction. That would make me fear for my life if my ex-husband wrote that about me. I would be very disturbed.
Understood.
So I don't even understand why it's at the Supreme Court. You would have to think, why aren't the lower courts,
Well,
she also obtained a protective order against him.
Here's the danger. Are we moving toward a Minority Report type society where they try to predict crimes based on what a person says?
Well, no, there's a law that says you can't threaten someone, and those are not protected by First Amendment rights. She's also had a protection order against him. So clearly there is a reason to fear this man. Why are they, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
You don't think? You already have a protective order against your husband?
Say, if you don't do this, I'm going to kick your butt into next week, But we don't do it.
Oh, my God.
It's kind of an idle threat to get the kids to do something.
I don't think those are apples and oranges. If you already have a protective order against your ex-husband, and he writes this, there's one way to love you, but 1,000 ways to kill you. I'm not going to rest until your body is a mess, soaked in blood and dying from all the little cuts. Geez, I wonder if you think it's serious. You already have a protective order against the man.
But can you convict someone based on that when he hasn't committed a crime yet?
Apparently you can, because it's threats.
We'll be right back on Top Story. What do you think? We're back. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. So what do you think? Are we going to a Minority Report trying to predict crimes before they happen? Or is threatening somebody, should that be a jailable offense? Frankly, I didn't think it was, but I guess it is.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I am serious.
Did you think that what he wrote was not a threat to his wife?
Oh, it's clearly a threat to his wife. I didn't know that you could. I always thought which I always thought was kind of stupid, you could threaten to kill somebody, but the police couldn't do anything until he actually attempted to or actually did it. But
apparently you can threaten.
Apparently you
cannot.
Can't. But first of all, yesterday's $100 instant winning name in the Word of the Day contest, brought to you by the Happy Landing Restaurant, which I'll be going to on Thursday again for our little ham radio get-together.
Are you going to get pie?
Yeah, I might get some pie this time, you know?
Why not?
Life is uncertain. Eat dessert first. I might go in and get pie and then get my meal.
When I was a waitress once years ago, someone did. They ordered their desserts first and then their meals.
I see nothing wrong with that.
I thought something was really wrong with that. But go on. We digress.
Anyway, so the Happy Landing Restaurant at the Twin Falls Airport. Tell them hi. Tell them you heard about it with Kelly and Jill. If you're a first-time visitor and you purchase a drink or a meal, they'll give you a piece of homemade pie.
You got to ask them if they've been giving out a lot of pieces of pie.
I think they have.
They have?
I think they have.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway,
so
go on.
the word of the day today, the wedding name today is Vaughn Jones.
Vaughn Jones, congratulations.
And your word of the day for today is frost.
Frost.
F-R-O-S-T.
Frost.
And you go to our website, newsradio1310.com, click on word of the day, type in F-R-O-S-T, frost. And then you listen tomorrow. And if you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, $100 will be coming your way.
How nice.
Just like that. Now, before the break, we had several people trying to call and get in and comment on this.
So
Nobody's
please call
calling.
back.
They hung up when I tried to answer.
The nerve.
So.
But you know what? There is a kid, and I forget, I think it was Ohio or something, who posted how he was going to shoot up a school on Facebook as a joke. And I think he actually was in jail or went to jail, has gone to jail, and served some time. I mean, threats like that are pretty important. You cannot sit there and joke about that as federal law in an airport. And why do you think the internet would be different? Why? Because you wrote it down as opposed to verbally saying it. It's different.
It is concerning to me though, because
in which part?
Because if you were a political activist, let's say, and you made some comments like, "Boy, if something doesn't happen soon, we might have to grab our guns and head for the streets." Well, that could be construed as a threat, and you could wind up in jail.
No, but the court has been careful to distinguish threats from protected speech, such as political hyperbole or unpleasantly sharp attacks. That is not protected. But when the part that...
I understand that.
So to me, I mean, you've had this law. You can't threaten someone, and you don't know someone's intent until they kill someone. But do you really risk this woman's life to go, oh, yeah, I guess he meant that? Well, no, you don't.
On the other hand, we really don't have freedom of speech.
Well,
because there are some things you can get in trouble for saying.
We don't, because you can't do fire in a theater. You can't do those things. I mean, those are things you can't do. And I'm sorry, there are some limitations, but to write what he wrote, she already has a protective order against this man. I would take it very seriously. I already have a protective order against my ex-husband, and he's telling me he's not going to rest until my body is a mess soaked in blood and dying from all the little cuts. Well, that happens about every day in this country.
Those are love notes, Jill.
I know.
Those are love notes.
He's so misunderstood.
Yes, he's a poet.
Oh, my
he's
goodness.
Just one of those
Edgar
misunderstood
Allan
poets.
Poe, who never gets any respect.
Edgar Allan Poet. 7360300. Top story,
Goodness.
You're on the air. What do you think?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I hate to bring up Ferguson again, but, they were putting out rewards to kill that police officer down there. Same thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's
same
right.
Thing.
Well, and maybe they're going to go after him.
I wonder if Eric Holder and his crew in Washington, D.C. is investigating those.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
But what do you
either.
think about this issue? Do you think that this man's was just a love note to his wife, just a poem? What do you think?
Well, it wasn't no love note.
I know it. But wouldn't you be scared? You already have a protective order against him. Wouldn't you be nervous that he means it?
But, I mean, it's like the rap. You said it was a rap song. Why don't they go after these rappers?
I don't think this was a rap.
Those are threats every day.
This was a post on his Facebook. He's not a rapper, I don't think.
Well, it was written in a manner of rap on Facebook.
Oh, so that makes the threat so much better.
What difference does it make if it's rapped on Facebook or rapped on a record or on
it's
TV?
It's a haiku. I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air. What do you think?
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly and Jill.
Good morning.
Good morning. Boy, you sound like you're coming from a tunnel or something.
We can't say things like, we're going to threaten the President of the United States,
That's
or
right.
we'd be charged.
That's right. That's right.
True.
And I think the free speech has gotten way out of hand. Free speech is, our forefathers put that in because that we could, say things like we don't care for the government or something like that. But when we start threatening people, I think that's going overboard.
I think so too. I would have been terrified.
So it's really not free speech because we say things out of context all the time. So should we be going for jail over that?
If you're posting something specifically about your wife and you have a protective
What's the wife
order
got to do?
against
But why
you,
could it just be limited to
that's
the
what
wife?
this case is about.
We'll be right back. 7360300 is the number to call. You're kind of being hard on your microphone today. I heard a bunch of crunching
Sorry.
I'll tell you what.
It needs to be oiled. Listen, you can't move it without. What is that?
What? Do it again.
Little WD-40 or something. You can't move it without it squeaking.
Oh, okay.
Can you work on that, please? When
I'll
your last,
take care of that, yeah.
9 days, but who's counting? Fix my microphone. I won't have anyone to do that for me anymore. I got a whole honey-do list before you leave.
Oh, yeah. All right.
My computer,
Thanks, Jill.
my
I appreciate
microphone.
that, yeah. Well, it's no secret that we're not doing any irrigation right now, but coming up here in 2 or 3 months, we will be. And you need to talk to the folks at Far More of Idaho about your irrigation requirements. And ask them about infrared barren. This is an overflight of your fields and taking pictures with infrared photography. So when your fields are being watered, you may think that they are getting wet evenly, clear across. But there could be dry spots that you can't see with the naked eye. And you can see them with infrared photography. These pictures of infrared photography, which they will upload to your computer, will give you very valuable information as to maybe why you're not getting the yields that you used to when you first put that pivot into operation, because these things wear out, the little nozzles, the water going through those, they wear out, so some of them get more and some get less water than they're supposed to. You can see it with infrared photography, and that's why it doesn't cost, but it pays. Ask them about that at Far More of Idaho and tell them you want to do that this year. And have your eyes opened up about your irrigation system. Okay, on the topic that we're talking about, here is the danger. And I understand that, threatening somebody with their life, especially in the manner that this gentleman did with his lovely wife, I understand how that can be taken. But I also understand with our political climate that we have today, and with our rights being slowly eroded away, if I were to go on Facebook and say something like, if they come to take away my guns, I'm going to shoot the first person who comes through my door, that could be taken as a threat to kill someone. See, even though, sure, it is in political commentary, but as things go on, and we all know how some of the things we were able to say 10 years ago and 5 years ago, which were completely proper, like Christmas and things like that.
Oh, stop.
But we can't say now.
You say Christmas all the time.
That we are offending someone, and as this thing goes on and it's warped a little bit more, some of the things that we say every day on Facebook or wherever, or even in just real life, could be construed as a threat against someone, which would justify them coming and putting you in handcuffs and taking you away, never to be heard from again. Now, I know that I sound like a babbling idiot on this,
because political hyperbole,
which
which you just said, is excluded from this. So
is it really?
Yeah.
And will it be in the future?
But
well,
we
just can't put up with this.
But we're not arguing about that.
Political hyperbole is just getting out of hand. We can't put up with this anymore.
But that's not what they're deciding here. They're deciding the other part.
Understood.
No, you don't, because you keep
do.
going back to that example. The point is free speech rights of people who use violent or threatening language on Facebook or other social media.
My point.
No, but if you can't use it in person, if you can't use it in the other forms that we used to have in life before we had Facebook and social media, and that was illegal, why should it be okay because now we have an electronic medium that shouldn't transfer?
No, this
is what it's talking about.
Perhaps I was speaking out of turn. I don't necessarily mean this to just pertain to Facebook. I mean this
is
in real life and one-on-one.
This is what Supreme Court is weighing, the free speech rights of people who use violent or threatening language on Facebook or other social media. That's the discussion. It's not all these other things. It's like, now you can do it in an electronic way. Why should that be protected when the other stuff wasn't? Hello. It's just a new way to do it, and that's pretty threatening.
My point is that we are allowing these things to, even we don't really have freedom of speech when you stop and think about it. Because some of the things that we can say, and I know it sounds crazy, but we've always been allowed to say crazy things and not go to jail for it. And to threaten someone, it's been years ago, I remember a cop telling me you can threaten somebody and there's nothing we can do unless they try it.
Well,
apparently that's changed.
Well, the intent is if the person feels threatened. If I go to the police and say my husband's going to...
So it's in the eyes of the beholder.
That's what they're saying.
So I wouldn't really have to say anything. I could say, boy, I really don't like you very much. Somebody could take that as a threat against their life.
That is not violent.
That's even worse.
That's not violent or threatening language. What is wrong with you? Stick to what the point is here. My gosh.
My point is,
I don't know what your point is anymore.
It could be construed that way to be taken like that.
If this doesn't sound like a threat, I'm not going to rest until your body is a mess soaked in blood and dying from all the little cuts. What would be? She already has a protective order against this man.
We'll be right back.
That's what the case is.
7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Toss Story. We got some folks who are chomping at the bit to get on.
Okay.
Well, and they were chomping so bad they had to hang up.
Call back.
Okay, here we got one. Top Story, you were on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You guys need to change your lunch ad, Kelly, or are you going to go next month too?
No, that reminds me. I do have to do that. Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Thanks, Kyle. Do you want to work there?
According to that last ad, you were going to be there next month. So,
Kelly,
false advertisement.
Yeah, right. And I can't be here next month because then I'd have to give all the cool presents back.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Which is very disturbing.
You can give me that gun. That was a really nice gun.
Oh, I'll say.
Anyway, I just wanted to say I agree and disagree with you. Our rights are being taken away, but you cannot just outright threaten somebody to their face, especially when you have a restraining order against them. I don't think that's the same as saying, if you take away my rights to come get my gun, I'm going to give you the business end first.
I know.
That's a bold statement. Saying you can't do that. You can't take away my rights.
I understand that. But the government, the way the government is going in the future, they will take it that way.
Well, you don't rule on what...
It's coming.
Yeah, that's the point.
I agree with you and disagree with you because it is coming, but you cannot threaten somebody like that. It's just not right.
But you don't rule
on...
on...
our society today is that we're taking things too far. Why are people shooting other people before they shoot themselves?
I know.
Get it over with.
Shoot themselves first.
Why does it have to hurt someone else?
I agree. Why don't they kill themselves first? But you can't sit there and weigh a case on the future. You have to weigh the case on what the facts are right here, and that's what they're doing. I'm surprised it's gone to the Supreme Court.
It's funny you say that because when we were talking about Ferguson, you didn't want to weigh it on the facts that we were talking about right then. You wanted to weigh it on the fact that there are just so many problems over the years, blah, blah, blah. So,
no, well,
anyway,
they've had dispute of the facts.
I don't want to talk about Ferguson,
but their dispute of facts in that. To sit there and go, oh, it's going to go down the road, that's not. And political hyperbole is exempt. But I'm sorry, I don't think because
maybe today, but not tomorrow.
But that's not what you rule on.
But they're going to be using this same law, though. Well,
okay, Kelly,
you
so let's
threatened a government official, so you're going to jail, buddy.
That's not what they're... And you know what? If you do threaten a government official...
That's not what they're talking about here,
if you threaten a police officer, if you threaten a judge, if you threaten the president, yes. They take those threats seriously, and they should in this case as well.
7360300, Top Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, I know a 16-year-old kid that got into a fight at school, went home, put on his... Facebook and put, I'm going to take a knife and cut so-and-so.
Yep.
And he got hauled into court.
Yep.
They said they could send him away. They could put him in probate, what do you call that? Their
Detention, yeah.
yeah, detention center and all that. And if the victim's mother didn't stand up and say, "Oh, they do that all the time, and they're just best friends," she wouldn't have done that. He would have been sent away. So
I know.
you don't really have the freedom to be able to put I'm going to knife somebody out there. And I know when I was young, people would say that to each other all the time. I'm going to get you, or I'm going to beat you up, or I'm going to do what.
Yeah.
Nobody ever did anything. Now you got to worry about that.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
now
in the eye of the beholder.
But now it's on electronic media. You've written it down. How many times do you verbally say something? You don't write it down for the world to read it. I'm going to go into a school and shoot it up. Well, you know what? We've had a lot of school shootings. That might be a threat. And that one kid, and I think it's Ohio, he is in jail or had to serve jail time for that. And he's like, I was joking. Well, you know what? Maybe you should think about what you put on Facebook. Who says that? I don't actually think that's funny. Why would that be funny in the environment?
Understood.
So,
but
you don't know the difference.
It's funny doesn't mean that it should be outlawed.
Well, really? Well, do you think
consider.
the cops should go, oh, that's just a kid? Or do they say, oh, my gosh, that's a kid. Maybe he's going to do that.
That is a possibility.
But you know what? I think in this case, I said I don't think just because it's Facebook, it's exempt.
However you look at it, we are becoming more and more, whether it's justified or not, more and more of a minority report type society.
We've had this law for a long time, Kelly.
Understood. And it's in the eyes of the beholder. It's like sexual harassment. I can tell you, gee, Jill, you look nice today. And you can take that as sexual harassment, and I can get in trouble.
Oh my gosh!
I realize it's not on the same
stop,
scale, but I'm trying to make a point.
No,
here.
You're trying.
No,
stick with the points and the facts. Stick with the points. Should you be allowed to use violent or threatening language on Facebook or other social media? Now that we have electronic media, if it wasn't allowed before, why should? Because it's Facebook, you could say whatever the heck you want and no ramifications. I'm sorry, words and things you say, whether it's hateful, discriminatory, whatever, you have consequences.
Oh,
and,
I don't disagree with that.
I think they shouldn't be allowed to do violent or threatening language on Facebook. Why? Why should that be okay?
There was a point in time where they made it a federal law where you can't threaten anyone. What about the times before that? So now they made that law, and now that we've got that law, we can build upon that to the point where eventually making a statement that I'm going to shoot the first person that comes in my door to try to get my guns.
Oh, my God.
They are going to consider that as a threat, and they can come and get you.
Why don't you deal with the women that are being threatened every day, that are being killed every day in this country by their boyfriend or husband? No, it's not.
You keep going advantage of that.
You keep going to the one part that's exempt
of the situation.
No.
You're overlooking that.
No,
and it's
I'm
time
not.
for the Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you by Waddell and Reed. And I'm trying to, I say it every day like it goes in one ear and out the next. But it's Waddell and Reed, ladies and gentlemen.
Laura Nelson and Josh Funk.
Yeah.
Who is it? And
Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger.
Steve Stanger.
Nice people.
Did Laura Nelson come to your retirement party?
She didn't.
I wanted to meet the woman, Saint Laura, who had to deal with you all these years with your investments. I don't know how she did it. Because what I used to deal with in the breaks. And now that you've done other things with your money, like find a mattress, seriously, I don't know how she dealt with you. I wanted to meet that woman. If she can deal with Kelly, she can deal with anyone.
Anything. She can deal with you. So
she can deal with me.
Give her a call.
She can deal with you.
736-6563.
Seriously, I wanted to meet her. I did.
Well, you still might get a chance. I don't know.
Laura.
I want to say the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment have this timed just right. They've got Husqvarna and Echo chainsaws, and you can stop by and get one of these, and you can go out and you can cut wood to your heart's content. Because it looks like we're probably going to have kind of a chilly winter.
You think?
So it's kind of warming up a little bit now. We're kind of having a little respite. It's 37 right now. It's probably going to get up into the 40s today. So you could go out and cut up some more firewood so you'll be prepared for winter. And what better way to do that than with a new chainsaw from the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment?
I know.
They just deal with power equipment. They don't deal with washers and dryers and wood and, a lot of the stuff that the big box stores also sell. They are the service They are repair. They are parts. They are information for you. So they are at 252 Washington Street, where General Building Supply used to be, 734-7767. Stop by and see them. I drive by there. I see a little snowblower sitting out front there.
Makes you want to buy it, doesn't it, Cal?
A log splitter.
You're like a hoarder.
I am.
I know, you are.
I am.
I went to a flea market with you. You were looking at stuff that you had to have that I'm like, really? Are you
But
going
did
to use
I buy any of it?
this leather, like,
It
razor
was a leather
sharpener?
razor strop. Those are antiques. I should have got that, but I didn't.
And I said, why?
I don't know
and you
why
said,
I didn't do that.
Probably because I was with you.
Yeah, it would have cost $5.
Ah.
Hey, I just want to say I've been getting retirement cards from some of our fans.
Nice.
And I just want to say thank you to the Groves and to the Butters and nice cards I got in the mail. You know,
People are so sweet. They ask me all
are.
the time, when's Kelly leaving? Are you doing this show by yourself? What's happening? I mean, he's still here till December 31st.
Yeah, December 31st will be my last day. So.
And then I don't know what's going to happen on that day.
I haven't figured it out yet.
You're probably not going to hit
I
any
don't
button.
I don't know what I'm going to do that day.
2 hours to retirement.
I'll go out with a bang. Oh, wait, I can't say that. I might get arrested.
Oh,
hey, anyway, have a great
stop.
day. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.